Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about percent bar graphs. And we're going to relate it to the frequency tables that we talked about last week, as well as we're going to relate it to pie charts or pie graphs, which y'all already know. So let's go ahead and let's look here. Last week, we learned to find the frequency table. We had to find the total first. So we had to add up the 6 plus the 9 plus the 5. And when we do, we get 20. Then remember, this was our part and 20 was our whole. So 6/20ths we said equaled 30%, 9/20ths equaled 45%, and 5/20ths equals 25%. So we're going to take this data from our frequency table. And first off, we're going to look at a pie graph. And you can see here how the subject social studies, which is in blue, was 30%. Then math took up 45%, and language arts took up 25%. Now, here, it's easy to see in the pie chart that math has the largest percent and language arts has the smallest percent. And social studies is the one in between. And you can easily eyeball that by looking at the pie graph. Well, all we're going to do is look at a percent bar graph. And all this is the same information, but it's laid out in a bar. Now, remember here last week we said that all percent should always total to 100%. So when I add up 30 plus 45 plus 25, I should get 100%. Because the total will always be 100%. If we come over here to the pie chart and we take the same data, 25 plus 30 plus 45, and we add it all up, we get 100. And since these are all percents that we're talking about, the total would be 100%. Well, we're doing the same thing with a percent bar graph. These three sections represent 100%. These three bars on the graph should also represent 100%. So let's go ahead and let's look at how we would read it. Now, it's not as clean as cut as the circle graph because it gives us the percents. But let's go ahead and look here how we can determine the percent. So we're going to use this number line of percents below. And we can see here that the blue starts at 0 and it stops at 30. So I know that 30 minus 0 is 30. So this blue part here would be 30%, which is exactly what the pie chart says. Now, the red one, we're not starting at the 0. We're starting at 30. So 30 is going to be the number that I end up subtracting. And now I want to look at where does the red, just the red section end. And I'm going to use my number line to help me out. So the red section begins at 30 and it ends at 75. So I would take 75, the ending number, and subtract the beginning number. And 75 minus 30 is 45. Therefore, the red part of this bar graph, which represents math, would represent 45% of the graph. And now I'm going to do the same thing when looking at language arts, the yellow part of the graph. Here I can see that the graph starts now at 75 and it ends at 100. That doesn't mean language arts is 100%. That means I now have to take the ending point, which is 100, and subtract the starting point, which was 75. And 100 minus 75 is 25. So therefore, this is 25%. Now, we've already done it because we've already done it in the frequency table and we've done it with the pie chart. 30 plus 45 plus 25 is 100. Therefore, this whole graph is now 100%. And hopefully that helps you interpret how to read a percent bar graph.